Welcome to this episode of Wiki Walks, a short podcast devoted to some of the more intriguing and, who knew, articles that you can run across in the weird world of Wikipedia. I'm your host, Chris Grismer. I have a beard. I've had some degree of facial hair since 2003. We've had a good run, this beard and I clearly have an aversion to razors. But let me tell you about a different sort of razor. Philosophical razors, specifically. A razor is a principle or rule of thumb that allows for the elimination, the shaving off, hence razor, of unlikely explanations for a phenomenon. A philosophical razor is not an unbreakable law or rule. It's not always right 100% of the time, but it is right more often than not and is therefore a useful mental shortcut that allows you to make decisions and solve problems quicker and easier. So we're going to roll through some of the more famous razors out there, beginning with the most well-known Occam's razor, named after the Franciscan monk William of Ockham. Officially, the razor says, entities should not be multiplied without necessity, but to distill that a little bit, it's basically saying that the simplest explanation tends to be the correct one. Not always, but usually. The more assumptions there are, the more possibilities there are for error. For example, a UFO in the sky is A, aliens from another galaxy, or B, a type of aircraft or drone you haven't seen before, maybe one that the Air Force is testing. Let's not always jump the gun to crazy town, okay? Amusingly, the opposite of Occam's razor is Occam's duct tape, which is when someone approaches a problem with a ridiculously large number of assumptions. All right, the next razor is the Sagan Standard, named for Carl Sagan. The Sagan Standard says that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If somebody claims that their name is Michael, or that their dog's name is Charlie, that's not an extraordinary claim. It's reasonable to simply take them at their word. However, if someone claims that they can read minds or have two-way conversations with dead members of Parliament, either the band or the English political house, or that they can cure leprosy using only a Band-Aid and a thimble of non-dairy creamer, well, they must be backed up by extraordinary evidence, such as a live demonstration, for example, to prove it. If you make extraordinary claims, you must have extraordinary evidence. Next is Hitchens' razor, named after the noted atheist Christopher Hitchens. What can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. Hitchens' razor ties in nicely with the Sagan Standard. If somebody is going to assert something without evidence, especially an extraordinary claim that demands evidence, you can dismiss it without evidence. That's because the burden of proof is always on the one making the claim, not the other way around. For example, if I claim to be able to contact the dead or predict the future or read minds, it's not up to you to prove that I can't. It's up to me to prove that I can. I'm the one making the claim. Therefore, it's up to me to prove it. However, if someone is making an extraordinary claim that demands evidence but is unwilling or unable to provide that evidence, you can dismiss those claims without evidence. There's simply no need to waste time arguing about unsubstantiated claims. Hitchens' razor will save you a lot of time because most people don't have any evidence to back up their assertions. The next razor is well known as the duck test. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it probably is a duck. The duck test is about abductive reasoning and drawing the most likely conclusion given the evidence instead of denying the obvious. Generally speaking, what you see is what you get. Next is Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by incompetence or stupidity. This might be the most relevant one in 2022. Hanlon's razor states that if someone acts in a way that affects you negatively, it's not necessarily because they had bad intentions towards you or mean you harm. More likely, depending on the person and situation, they're simply careless, incompetent, stupid, unaware of how they're affecting you, don't know any better, stupid. 99% of the time, other people's behavior has nothing to do with you, even when they're being annoying, disrespectful, rude, offensive, etc. My favorite name for a razor is Newton's Flaming Laser Sword. That which cannot be settled by experiment is not worth debating. An Australian mathematician coined this razor in which he advocates only focusing on problems which can be settled by a combination of experimentation and reasoning, and not just argumentation. Which horse is faster? Race them. How many teeth does your dog have? Count them. Which MMA fighter is better? Make them fight. Obviously, Newton's flaming laser sword excludes a lot of things, anthropology, history, politics, ethics, etc., and should be therefore used pretty cautiously. There are a few more out there like Popper's falsifiability principle and Grice's razor, but this was a quick trip through the highlights. So the next time you are presented with new information on the news du jour, maybe dig into your philosophy toolkit and see if you can shave off some half-truths using a razor.